Welcome back, Ruma.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've been talking about relational leadership so far. And what we've taken our audience through so far is we've laid down a rule, then we built a small model. We've said relational leadership requires a foundation of interdependence. There are two skills that are necessary: listening and inquiry. Now we come to the roof part of it, which is co-creation. Start us off on co-creation.
Yeah. So what is the result of interdependence, navigating power dynamics, listening to the rhythms, inquiring with the intent of seeking? So what is the result of doing all this, right? These are all parts of relational stage. And the result is, the co-creation part. What is being created relationally through these various aspects that we have discussed so far.
Mm-hmm.
Shahrukh, I'm going to ask you, how could you define co-creation? And it's not the English dictionary co-creation or anything like that, because all of us have our own definitions. And I just want to have a common way of defining co-creation, at least in these conversations, amongst us. So how would you define co-creation?
Having gone through this series with you, Roma, my thinking has evolved. It's about getting to know what I don't know. You talked about 2% last time. There's always going to be something that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
How do I involve people around me?
Yeah.
It doesn't only have to be my idea. It is how do we create something that we come up with together?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it is the process of ideating together. It's the process of executing or putting things into action together. There is this common word, which is together. So doing this or thinking through this or whatever together. Yes?
That's right.
Okay. So that is a very important aspect of relational stage. Remember, the entry point into this relational stage is realizing that we cannot live in isolation. That is not the nature of human beings, and that everything that we are doing, even this earth, is co-creating with us, in the sense that there is always something that we are relating with and relating to, or someone that we are relating with and relating to, and the togetherness is what is the essence of our human life. So when that is such a critical element of the entry point into the stage, what is important to understand in this co-creation is the part which is co and then creation. Creation is we're creating together. Co over here, we are talking about together. There is an element which we miss out on mostly, is actually taking responsibility for the togetherness. So taking responsibility for whatever we are doing together. Because usually in relational or relationships, we will find one person or the other, and this inevitably happens in every single team or in every single relationship, where one person says, I'm pulling all the weight or I'm doing all the hard work, and the other person is not doing enough. Or it feels like, yes, I'm the one bearing all the brunt or carrying all the load, and the other person is probably slacking off. So how does this togetherness work then? And this is a reality. This will happen all the time. And we are not living in an ideal world. This element of taking responsibility for our togetherness becomes extremely important. And it is not just taking responsibility for our actions, it's also taking responsibility for our inactions, because both affect and impact the relationship. So knowing that whatever we are doing or not doing is actually contributing to the nature of the relationship. And if we are sensing something in the relationship, if we are feeling joy in the relationship, know that, in some form and shape, I'm contributing to that as well, along with the other person. If we're feeling a sense of, sadness, or a sense of maybe discord, also knowing that, in some form and shape, I'm contributing to that as well as the other. So while there is this talk about a relationship is a two-way street, yes, it is. And taking responsibility, and we can take only responsibility for our own selves, of our lane, is what is co-creation in this context of relational leadership.
Ruma, that's really, really, really deep. All of us today are living in matrixed organizations, right? And the concept of the matrix organization is that you create a matrix so that one part of it cannot work, but the overall integrity of the system remains strong.
Yeah.
But what you are pointing out is something way more deeper. It's about, I can be a point in that matrix, but I need to understand what all I'm responsible for. Right? That it's not only about me, but there are other people that depend on me. And hence there is a responsibility that I have to make sure that I respond in a timely manner. That I may think I'm doing really important work, but I make sure that when someone that I think is not important asks me for my time, I lean in and say, yeah, what do you need so that you are successful? Because that's what's going to make the entire matrix successful.
Absolutely. And that is when co-creation is actually working to full potential.
Right.
So again, going back to this law, this rule that we talked about, that I, you, we are right only partially, I, you, we are contributing only partially, but we have to take responsibility for that partial part, because that partial part is making the whole thing work in ways that we might not know. So, it's easy these days, or it has been easy to just say, well, the political system is corrupt, or that is not working, or this is not, not the way that I would like to be. But even in that larger political system, I am a co-creator. I have created that. I just don't know how I've created that, maybe by not voting or whichever way, or by voting, but I have. And that minuscule, that partiality, it can be 0.00001% or whatever percentage, but that is how I have co-created something. So knowing that that's the nature, we are co-creating, we just don't know. So taking responsibility for not just what we are doing, but also taking responsibility for what we are not doing, and knowing that it is impacting. We might not know how that is impacting the system. We might not know how that is impacting the relationship right now. We might feel, oh, okay, it's a minor impact. It doesn't matter. But taking responsibility for that impact, and knowing that it has an impact, that matters. That is co-creation.
Right. Ruma, if you became a sage and suddenly moved to the Himalayas, and I were to trek all the way up to the Himalayas and ask you, but I've got so many things going on in my life. I've got my work, I've got my friends, I've got my family. How am I supposed to be aware of all the places where I am taking responsibility or where I'm shirking from taking responsibility? How would I know?
Yes, you would not know all of it. And that is, again, the reality, and that's the fact. If I take a bit of a physics example, the atom does not know the bigger shape that, or a form that it is a part of, and it will never know. But then if the atom does not do its part, then it impacts the larger shape and the bigger shape. So yes, you will never know, but then knowing that you have an impact, knowing that you matter, that is where the growing into stage is. The first step is actually claiming our place and knowing that I matter. That just that knowledge that I matter. And it does not matter how big or small my contribution is, but every single thing that I'm doing is having a consequence, is having an impact, or not doing is having a consequence, is having an impact. So that is the first step of claiming my place and knowing that I matter. To answer your question, Shahrukh, you will not know entirely, but just doing your thing. You must have heard this saying that keep doing your your actions and don't worry about the others' actions. And this text is common across all the older scripts and every mythologies that we come across, every stories that we come across, every religion talks about this in different forms and shape. It can be idealistic or it can sound idealistic sometimes, and it's hard to do. It doesn't mean that okay, I'm not going to look at what the other person is doing, I'll just keep doing my hard work. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when we are in that stage of where we are feeling we are doing all the hard work, and where is this contributing towards, I can't see where is all this going towards because things are not moving. That is also, and that is part of co-creation. So I'm taking responsibility for my actions, and I'm also inquiring about or holding the others responsible as well. That means the conversation needs to flow. It cannot just be blocked by, okay, I'm just going to suffer and and kill myself. And so that is shutting down. No, what we are talking about in co-creation is also inviting the other person into this conversation of what we are creating together. And what we are creating together might be the ideal utopian world, or what we might be creating together is actually not working. So that is also part of co-creation.
This entire series had a twist for me as far as I was concerned, because I thought we would get to co-creation and it would stay there, but taking responsibility and you ending it by saying it all hinges on I matter. That for me was the twist. So really interesting. Anything else that needs to be said before we end this call, Ruma?
Yeah, each one of these things that we are discussing is has many layers. We are just touching the tip of the iceberg. There is so much of unlayering that can be done. These are not superficial, but these give us, and subsequently, if we get to the point of talking about our model, the RM, which gives a frame of how to use all of this more effectively, we will break this down further. For now, I feel this is a good place to stop or pause.
I think I have a topic for our next conversation, and that's about power dynamics. You touched upon that. I'd like to see how that fits into this overall model. So maybe we talk about that the next time.
Okay. All right. Look forward then.
All right. Cheers, Ruma. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.